Good morning, everyone. On a beautiful morning with beautiful faces, partly covered here in the room, but less so at home. Glad you're here. Welcome to the shared time to connect to one another and to focus our attention and our intention on what matters. UU musician Peter Mayer's much-loved song Blue Boat Home zooms out and sets the wider context for these lives and these relationships of ours. Here we are, winding our way on the milky wing of this spinning galaxy on this miraculous blue-green marble that sails the endless fathoms, this blue boat we call home. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit, and I invite those of us in the room to hum and move as Jordan sings and Chuck and Tom play, and those at home to sing heartily.
Below me I feel the motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known, the wide universe ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. None I sail and long moon my rudder, as I ply the sorry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, questions into the deep, drifting with my ship companions, all weekends the pilgrim soul, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. Thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, read the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known, the wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat
Good morning. I just continue to just love the fact that I can actually see people and all of you people out in your little squares there. That's wonderful. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Community of the Mountains in Grass Valley, California, as we conclude our month of Sundays, focusing on what it means to be a people living with intention. We've done our Cider Sunday circles, reflecting on the year that has passed and giving attention to our intention for how we want to be in the world this year. We've heard the vision and passion of two local young adults who are working to offer direct service and support to those in need in our community as we consider our own intentional living. And we paused to mark another passing of the anniversary of the birth of Dr. Martin Luther King, and to bring attention to the fact that his work is not done, and to consider what our intention might be to pick up a piece of the work and carry it forward. And we built an amazing word cloud of the words that each of us are choosing to guide us for a year, a North Star to lead us toward becoming our best selves. And it has been a month of action as well as intention, as we built our community strength, not just in our spiritual lives, but in our emotional and intellectual lives, as we navigate the waves of change that challenge so much of what we hold dear. Our face-to-face, hug-focused connections with each other, a climate that allows us to live, our precious democracy. Did you notice how Reverend Kevin's titled his sermon today? It is, I do, we do. Our theme for the month is what it means to be a people living with intention. Today we focus on the word we. What happens when our individual intentions join to become our intentions as a community? This welcome will do likewise. I usually say you are welcome here, and of course you are. But today I say we are welcome here. We are Caucasian, African American, Hispanic, Asian, Native American, and more, and we are welcome here. We are gay and straight. We are cisgender and trans. Our pronouns are he, she, they, them, thee, here, hers. And we are welcome here. Our ancestors came from many continents, and we are welcome here. We are children and elders, young people and middle-aged people, and we are welcome here. We are brand new to this community, and we have come many times before, and we've come 1,000 times before, and we are welcome here. We pray and we don't pray. We believe in a higher power and we don't. And we are welcome here. We are healthy in body and mind, and we are not. We are aging and we are growing. We are confused, worried, hopeful, clear-minded. We are happy and we are sad. You and I are we together. And that makes me very happy.
Good morning. This chalice lighting is written by Natalie Fenmore, and it says, "We are called." We are called. We are all called. Called by the wind, the rushing water, the fireflies, the summer sun. Called by the sidewalk, the playground, the laughing children, the street lights. Called by our appetites and our gifts, but also called by our needs and our challenges. Called by the bottle, the needle, the powder, the pill, the game, the bet, the need. The want, the pain, the cure, the love, the hope, and yes, the dream. Called by the spirit of love and hope and the vision of God's purpose in each of our lives. Yes, we are called. And so what do we choose? How do we answer?
Gail has lit the chalice here in the room. I invite everyone at home to light your chalice now if you have one. And if you don't, perhaps there's an object that has meaning to you or that symbolizes this community. I invite you perhaps just to clear a space near you and place that to mark this time as set aside. Our land acknowledgement this morning is offered by Gary Kaiser.
Land acknowledgement. In our commitment to be in right relationship with the descendants of this area's indigenous people, we place a small basket of black oak acorns on our altar each week. In doing so, we acknowledge the Nisenan people are still here among us today, though nearly invisible after generations of erasure and exclusion from California's history. We understand we are on Nisenan land that was never ceded, and the original tribal families have yet to recover from the genocide of their people. As residents or visitors in Nisenan land, we support the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe and efforts to stabilize their people, as well as the campaign to restore tribal sovereignty through federal recognition.
The opening words for today are from Come Down Off the Ladder by David S. Blanchard. Come down off the ladder, wash out that paintbrush, shake the sand out of your shoes, get up off your muddy knees and give the garden a morning off. Fold up the newspaper, turn off the coffee pot, close up your calendar already filled with dates and times and people and places that claim you. This church is ready for you to fill its rooms, to create its spirit, to generate its warmth, to kindle its light. This church is ready for you to make community, to create beauty, to bend it toward justice, to serve its ideals. This church is ready for you to be here, honoring our past, invigorating our present, and dreaming our future. This is your church. Here we are home. Here we are whole. Let us begin.
Let me tell you about the cricket and the coin. One day, a pair of cousins were taking a walk down a busy city street. Now, one of the cousins was what you would call a city slicker, someone who lived in and was used to the urban lifestyle. The other cousin was what some people refer to as a country bumpkin, someone who was more accustomed to the rural countryside way of living. But on this day, they found themselves together in a city. And as they were walking, if you've ever been in a city, you know the sounds, the sights, the impressions that are constantly bombarding the senses. It's a loud and exciting place to be. Horns blaring, people shouting, construction taking place. And amidst all of that bustle, the country cousin said, "Is that? Ha! Do you hear that? A cricket." The city cousin said, "No, cuz, no way. Listen, there's no way there are any crickets anywhere within a 20-mile radius of here. And even if there were, there's no way you could hear it over all the noise." The country cousin said, No, I hear it. There's definitely a cricket." And wouldn't you know, within a minute of continuing their walk, they found one of the few plants that was growing in the city, and there on its leaf was a little cricket singing its song. The city cousin was admittedly impressed and said, wow, this just goes to show you country people have great sense of hearing. But the country cousin wasn't so convinced. As a matter of fact, they thought it would be a good idea to launch an experiment to find out if it was really a matter of country people having better hearing. And so they pulled their change purse out and dropped a few coins on the sidewalk. The heads of every passerby turned toward the sound of the fallen coins. This story illustrates that we are more likely to notice things that we're used to noticing. So it's a good idea to pay attention to where we pay attention, to focus our intention and choose where we place our focus. And this story inspired this song. Are you listening to the falling leaves? Are you listening to the calling trees? Are you listening? What are you? Are you listening to the water dry? Are you listening to the lizards fly? Are you listening? What are you? What are you? I hear days come and go, and I hear babies growing. I hear clouds as they silently float by. I hear time as it's slowing, and one thing I know is I hear life. I hear life. Are you listening to the new day song, or a voice that tells you that everything is wrong? Are you listening? What are you? Are you listening to the love within, to the well where every good thing begins? Are you listening? What do you hear? What do you hear? I hear ideas sprouting, a child within me shouting, here's a new thing. You ought to give it a try. I hear vision becoming. I know that nothing is wanted. I hear life. I hear life. I hear life. I hear life.
So with Leah's invitation, let's listen. In this weekly ritual, we listen within, in part for self-awareness, to notice what we're feeling, what's moving us, but also to surface our compassion. So I invite you to pay attention to where you're paying attention for a moment, and to see what's moving in you, what is stirring your heart, what's tugging at you in this moment on this particular morning. The next moments we share invite some of us to stay right there. Stay where we're paying attention, where we're feeling, where we're being moved. They'll invite some of us to type into the chat some piece of what we're carrying so that others may be witness and share that joy, share that burden. And we'll invite some of us in the room to come and take a stone and to let that stone be what you're holding and to place it in the water, so to embody this understanding that what we carry in us is not ours alone and we can share it and be held as we do. I invite you in this time to listen within, to type into the chat, to come forward and to surface your own prayerfulness, your own thoughtfulness, intention about where to go with what you notice there. Hal Walker is an amazing and well-loved musician, the music director at the UU Church of Kent, Ohio, a gentleman who became TikTok famous for a while, but that's another story. His songs always have heart and often have humor. And I heard Will You Love, the song we're about to hear together, on YouTube as a recent benefit concert for Hal was approaching. Hal has been living with chronic fatigue syndrome for 30 years now, and the illness flared strongly this fall and has been debilitating for him since. So some of his many musical friends from around the country, including Leah Morris, who we heard earlier, organized a concert, a love song for Hal. It benefits him as well as research. And this was the last song, the song we're about to hear, the last song that Hal was able to record before his energy faded this time around. The song grabbed me immediately, and I found myself listening to it over and over again. I'm moved both by its meaning and by Hal's particular singing of it. I discovered this week that this song is on a CD of Hal's music that I've had for years. I didn't remember it at all. I didn't remember that smooth, lovely, carefully produced version. I wasn't so much grabbed by it, but it's this raw, immediate, and this heartful version that grabs me. Heightened, I'm sure, by this particular moment. Hal and all of us at the very edge of what is to come.
Will you love, 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 will you love? Yes, I will, 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 yes, I will. Can you feel, 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 can you feel? Yes, I can, 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 yes, I can. Are you true? 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 Yes, I am. 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 I saw your face is the moment I remember well. I was born into my body and I was changed into myself. Will you love, 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 will you love? Yes, I will, 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 yes, I will. When I saw your face is the moment I remember well. I was born into my body and I was changed changed into myself.
The Church Has Left the Building by Margaret Weiss. The church is not a place. It is a people. The church is not only a steeple above the tree-lined streets and cars, rather, it is a people proclaiming to the world that we are here for the work of healing and of justice. The church is not walls, but walls built stone upon stone, held together by mortar, but rather person, linked with person, linked with person. All ages and genders and abilities, a community built on the foundation of reason, faith, and love. The church is not just a set of doors open on Sunday morning, but the commitment day after day and moment after moment of our hearts creaking open the doors of welcome to the possibility of new experience and radical welcome. The church is not simply a building, a steeple, a pew. The church is the gathering together of all the people and experiences and fear and love and hope in our resilient hearts, gathering however we can to say to the world, welcome, come in, lay down your heartache and pick up hope and love. For the church, UUCM is us, each and every one of us together.
For the church is us. UUCM is us, each and every one of us together. Welcome, come in, lay down your heartache, and pick up hope and love. A number of people in the congregation have been reading Priya Parker's book, The Art of Gathering, How We Meet and Why It Matters. It's a marvelous and inspiring invitation to approach all our gatherings in life, large and small, at home and here and elsewhere, with thoughtfulness and conscious intention. Priya encourages us to meet whenever we assemble, with meaning and very clear purpose. And she invites all of us to practice becoming artful gatherers. I love that invitation, to be artful gatherers. It's perfect for a religious community, to be all of us continually taking the initiative to help people be together in ways that connect us more deeply, that connect us to the values that guide our lives. to help all our gatherings, no matter how simple, to be sources of growth, support, guidance, and inspiration, as Priya puts it. Not just times we happen to be together in the same space, whether on Zoom or in the same physical location. Most of the reasons people give for getting together feel worthy and respectable, Priya writes, but also basic and bland. We think we know what a birthday party is for example, to celebrate a birthday. But what is the purpose of your birthday party this year, for where you are at this moment in your life? She says, if you're having a birthday party to celebrate your birthday, you really haven't identified a reason for having a party. Instead, she says, you're confusing the category with the purpose, as if the reason for having a birthday party is to have a party for a birthday. If instead you decide that the purpose of your birthday party is to mark the year, she says, well, that's a basic and boring purpose, but at least you're trying. However, if you choose to have your birthday party in order to surround yourself with people who bring out the best in you, or to set some goals for the year with people who help you stay accountable, or to reconnect with your siblings. Now, each of those is a purpose, she says, with all kinds of benefits for having and holding to that kind of clarity and that kind of specificity. Not just to have a birthday party because it's your birthday, but why have a party now? In an email post this past week, Priya told the story of Renee, whose husband Ron was retiring after 29 years on the job. His colleagues had organized a lunch at a Greek restaurant and a plan to give him a plaque for his retirement, so Renee asked to attend. And as the meal got going, and Renee looked around and listened to the chatter, she realized they were just going to eat. They were just going to have lunch. So she braved clinking her glass to get everyone's attention and said, I know the home Ron, but I don't know work Ron. He said, I'd love to hear about him. Can you tell me what this guy is like at the office? And after a slightly awkward pause, a young colleague shared that Ron was the person to whom he brought all his questions because Ron treated him with respect and never made him feel foolish for asking. Another colleague named the clever acronyms that Ron came up with. Others, his generosity, his constancy, and so on. And of course, Ron was surprised and moved by all the appreciation being spoken. And by the end of the lunch, the giving of the plaque was no longer the only source of meaning in that lunch. It became instead the cherry on the top of the meaning. Karen, I've thought of you often as I've been reading The Art of Gathering. You are the consummately artful and heartful gatherer. I've watched you do this so beautifully in so many meetings, even when it wasn't your job, to ask just the right question or to suggest an activity that both draws out and connects people powerfully. Others of you have this gift as well, and it makes all the difference in shifting a gathering or a meeting or a conversation from bland and okay to powerful and meaningful and inspiring. Whether we realize it or not, Priya's very first question as she invites us to explore gathering is why gather? That's the question, she says. What's the purpose? Why gather now in this particular moment? It's always, if we're conscious of it, the first question before us here in this community. Even if we don't speak it, even if we don't address it, it's the question that's resting there. In each of our meetings and circles and committees, what's the purpose? And also at the larger scale, as a religious community, what's the purpose? Why do we gather? Especially now with the world shaken up enough to pull us out of our automatic pilot mode. In this liberally religious Unitarian Universalist tradition, which set aside or rejected so many of the much more clearly articulated reasons for being and gathering that our Christian forebears held. Why do we gather now? And therefore, how? It's a question very much on my mind and in my heart, especially now because of the way the ground beneath us and the ground underneath that question is shifting. You may know that our Association of Unitarian Universalist Congregations commits to affirm 7 principles and purposes. I bet you know the first one. To affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of each person, right? Justice, equity, and compassion, acceptance of one another, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process, the goal of world community, respect for the interdependent web of which we are a part. But the active, why are we gathering now question is answered ultimately by each Unitarian Universalist congregation for itself. Those are guides, but each congregation has to answer the why question. Here, it's not my answer that matters, or the UUA's answer. It's UUCM members' collective answer that matters here and now. That's what determines the nature, the purpose, and the path of the community. That's why congregations like this one spell out their particular missions. For UUCM members right now, the current mission is with courageous love and a sense of wonder and/or wonder, to cultivate spiritual, emotional, and intellectual strength in order to create a world that is more compassionate than it is now, a world that is more sustainable, a world right here that is more just than it is right now. The fact that the members determine the why is also why the board and the minister here ask you to come vision together each year, to help answer for this time, for this moment, the why do we gather and how questions. That visioning is coming up, by the way, the end of February. Please plan to take part. This matters that your voice is part of that. Right now, the why gather, the purpose question, goes way deeper than usual, I think. This is a transformative and transitioning time, and it's probably going to be that way for a while. But the why question isn't answered out of nothing or out of chaos. Yes, the mission and the 7 principles, and hopefully soon an 8th principle that commits us to dismantle racism in ourselves and our institution, gives members a framework for feeling out and thinking about the collective purpose. But underneath all of that stuff are the much more fundamental commitments that define and anchor the heart of this Unitarian Universalist tradition. For me, Hal Walker's song gets to those deeper anchors with its questions and its responses. I think part of what moves me in the song is the repeated asking and the repeated replies, because it embodies in the singing the fact that these are not one-time asks and they're not one-time answers. Will you love? 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 Yes, I will. 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 Almost as if trying to convince oneself. You may know that Unitarian Universalism doesn't spell out a certain set of religious beliefs that you have to say you believe in order to be a member. Unitarian Universalism doesn't ask you to sign on to a creed. However, our tradition does ask you to make a promise to journey with other members in the spirit of love. Love as we continually come to figure out what it's asking and what it means. It's an aspirational commitment, not a promise of perfection. And the questions and our replies will come again and again. Most importantly, but not only, will you love? Also, can you feel? 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 Yes, I can. 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 Are you true? 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 Yes, I am. 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 Underneath and driving whatever current purposes this community comes up with are these committed and continually recommitted aspirational promises to love, to keep trying, to feel, to keep opening, keep trying, to be true, to keep trying, no matter how many times we fall short. The work on each of them, it's the work to do that, that's the journey of a lifetime and never completely finished, with the goal that within the work of trying to live the promises together, to support each other in living those, to help each other along the way, that we might actually be changed by what happens here, by what happens with each other. In the process of trying to live those questions and replies, that members here might be changed, each into themselves. That you might be changed. The reason to be here is that you might be changed into yourself. Yes, we Unitarian Universalists craft rich and beautifully crafted mission statements at our best. And we keep the UUA principles and purpose before us as guides and resources. But all of those are rooted, when they're true, in Hal's distilled, more concentrated, more raw questions, and in members' committed, repeated responses to them. First and foremost, that heart of the universalist question, which is not really, will God love, but will you love? Last Sunday, I drew on that survival team building exercise that asked people to prioritize a list of 12 items in order of their importance for survival in a freezing cold wilderness setting. The goal of survival pares things down to their very essentials. And I mentioned that when I did that exercise, or one very similar to it years ago, we were asked to prioritize those items ourselves first on our own, and then for the group to come up with a prioritized list that everybody agreed upon. So we had to hash it out together. So when the answers were then scored, one of the interesting and helpful questions for team building was, did you have a higher survival score with your own answers, or when you worked together to come up with a group answer? The majority of people get a better survival score with a group answer than their own. But some people scored higher on their own. The message then isn't you're better off on your own, though it's tempting to go there. The message is a question. Why didn't your insight, knowledge, or intuition influence the group score more? Did you not bring it to the table? Did you not speak up? Was it not heard? Were you reluctant to argue for it when there was resistance? The goal was not individual survival. The goal was how to help the group survive. The point for the next while in our lives might indeed first be to survive together. That's no small thing, not ever to be taken for granted. But the more life-giving, more inspiring goal would be to thrive together for each other and for the sake of the wider community, even while things are still shifting and rather splintered. Some have wondered why UUCM is exploring what to do with this building that it owns outright when so much of the world and life is up in the air. Besides the fact that this exploration will take several years, the attempt to figure out where to go with the building very quickly asks, where's the congregation going? Which requires asking, why is it here? What's its purpose? Not its basic and bland or boring purpose, but its more specific reason for being, because that's what will help members know what to do regarding the building. The answers in our tradition about why we gather, while informed by our separate individual answers, are really about the shared answer that members hash out together by bringing our voices, our lives, our experiences to the conversation. In this particular moment, in the messiness and the mushiness of it all, as Pam Kaiser put it recently, is an especially important time to get clear together about purpose. Everything comes from there. In the words of Margaret Weiss and Hal Walker, this community is not a place, it is a people. It is you here for the work of healing and justice, a community built on the foundation of reason, faith, and love. The commitment day after day and moment after moment of our hearts creaking open, the gathering together of fear and love and hope. Will you love? Can you feel? Are you as true as you want to be? Come in, whether or not you're at a place yet to lay down your heartache, come in and pick up hope and love. For the church is us, each and every one of us together. A powerful chance, if we will claim it, to be changed despite all the odds into ourselves. So may we be. I just want to show you the word cloud as it exists currently. This was as of yesterday. These are people's words. They've chosen to be their word for the year. This is the individual list, right? This is what's at the top of the list for each of us. The next work is to figure out together what's at the top of the list for the whole community.
Our offering each week goes to a community nonprofit that shares our values. It's a tangible demonstration of our intention to benefit those beyond our church community. Sierra Roots began in October 2011 when a Nevada City homeless man was found frozen to death on the streets, and the remains of a homeless woman were found in a shallow grave near a homeless camp. It was a stark and shocking reminder that there is no one-size-fits-all approach to working with the unhoused. Many are not able or not ready to meet the criteria to enter a shelter. The Sierra Roots program began with sandwiches, water, and fruit. This progressed to a weekly hot lunch program and the provision of clothes, toiletries, batteries, tarps, lanterns, and so on. Most important were the personal relationships and trust that slowly developed. Since 2013, they have contracted with Nevada City to provide a cold weather shelter. Their mission statement, I think I've read this probably 5 weeks in a row, but I think it's worth repeating. Sierra Roots takes a relationship-based approach in our work with homeless people. We are dedicated to listening to homeless people, and collaborating with them to make progress in their health, self-reliance, and action plans for secure, safe homes.
Although we're not passing the basket in person, your generosity remains essential to our ability to sustain the work of our community. There are several ways to contribute. You may text an amount to 833-579-0483, give via our website at uugrassvalley.org, via PayPal at paypal.me/UUCM, or mail to UUCM 246 South Church Street, Grass Valley, California, 95945. Thank you.
Thank you for your generosity. We dedicate these gifts to honoring our intention to be of service to others.
Chuck, Tom, Jordan, what fun. What fun. That was a joy. Gail and Cheryl, you've been fabulous worship associates. What a great team all month long to explore intention. The worship associates are experimenting with working in teams. Really, it's been really wonderful, each of you. Thank you. Siobhan and Steve and Andy, thank you very much for holding down the technical end of things this morning. Gail for some video editing. Shanti for another beautiful setting. I love having the nature in here as part of it. To, of course, our musicians, Carmen for being a greeter this morning, to Beth for being online as our chat host as well as a reader, Pam and Gary, thanks for making a recording ahead of time for us. And Karen, thanks for the beautiful reading and for sharing news of Custis. Thank you, really appreciate that. And behind the scenes, George and Corey as well. Thanks to everyone who helps a service happen. For our closing song, I invite us to sing Building a New Way. This is where we're at. It's going to be a long-term project. This is not a spring project to finish, but an invitation to be building a new way together. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit, again in the room to hum and move, and at home to sing along to your heart's content. Building a new way.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed, jealousy. We are working to be free. And feed our every need. We can feed our every every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are
For our closing words, I call us back to Natalie Fenimore's words from the opening. We are called by the wind, the rushing water, the fireflies, the summer sun, called by the sidewalk, the playground, the laughing children, the streetlights, called by our appetites and gifts, our needs and challenges, called by the bottle, the needle, the powder, the pill, the game, the bet, the need, the want, the pain, the cure, the love, the hope, the dream, called by the spirit of love and hope and visions of God's purpose for our lives. We are called. What do we choose? How do we answer? As we close this month focused on intention, but not closing on the intentions themselves, nor our promises to travel together in love, let us together carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again.